Right. So today we're going to be looking at something kind of weird.
Oh,
It has to
yeah.
do with this guy, Friedrich Schiller,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Okay.
big-time German poet.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've probably heard his name,
Right.
maybe in a college course or something like that.
Sure.
He's this giant of literature,
Yeah.
deep thoughts, dramatic plays,
Mm.
but also a really strange desk drawer habit,
Okay. What's that?
a rotting apple.
What?
Yeah. Apparently he would keep this apple in his desk
Wow.
and he would sniff it.
He would sniff it.
Yeah.
Really?
To help him when he got stuck writing.
So like aromatherapy, but bad.
Yeah, I mean, talk about unconventional inspiration, right?
Yeah, that's not your typical lavender-scented candle or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting, though.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that he seemed to understand something about creativity that we often overlook.
Okay.
And that's that sometimes being uncomfortable can help you unlock something really remarkable.
So instead of those diffusers with essential oils and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I should be digging through my trash.
Well, hold on.
Are we-
Not exactly.
Okay.
But the principle is fascinating.
Okay.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When we're comfortable, when things are predictable,
Yeah.
we get stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
His rotten apple was a way to shake up his senses to get unstuck.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like no pain, no gain.
Yeah, exactly.
But for your brain,
Mm-hmm.
so to be a great writer,
Mm.
I need to surround myself with terrible smells.
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't think you need to replicate it exactly. It's
Okay.
about the deeper principle. Discomfort, even something small like a bad smell, can get us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Makes us alert and more aware, and then ultimately more open to new ideas.
So Schiller was like a creative masochist,
What?
using the stench to power his genius.
Let's not jump to conclusions.
Okay.
I don't think the point is that discomfort is enjoyable, but it can be a powerful way to jumpstart creativity.
Gotcha.
It's about going beyond the easy, pleasant stuff and embracing the unexpected,
Yeah.
the challenging.
So less about, actually finding a bad smell,
Right.
and more about finding ways to shake things up,
Mm-hmm.
introduce a little rotten apple energy into my
We
Worthy.
gotcha.
But whether or not you should actually use Schiller's method is debatable.
Yeah, for sure.
But the idea is worth thinking about.
I'm thinking this goes beyond writing.
Okay.
So,
What about other creative fields?
yeah,
Like painting,
okay,
a painter looking at a moldy piece of fruit instead of a perfect one.
right.
Maybe that's the next big masterpiece.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
And, there's so many examples of artists, musicians, innovators who've done something incredible by going outside of what's comfortable.
Okay, so we've talked about how discomfort can be a secret weapon.
Yes,
But how do we apply that?
that's the question.
Yeah, because I can't be walking around with rotten apples everywhere.
Well, right, the challenge is to find your own personal rotten apple.
Okay.
You know that thing, that idea, that experience that makes you a little uncomfortable?
You mean like that box of old love letters I have?
Mm,
Or that novel I started years ago?
exactly.
But I said I'd finish,
Right.
but never did.
It's about finding those things,
Okay.
those thoughts and feelings that we hide away.
Because they're messy.
Yes.
I'm
Or
pretty-
maybe even a little painful.
Yeah. But you're saying that's where the creativity is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about shining a light on those shadowy places
Yeah.
and seeing what comes out.
So I should run towards the discomfort.
You got it.
Embrace it.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
When you experience those uncomfortable things, you open up new ways of thinking.
Okay.
You force yourself to see the world differently.
Yeah.
And that's where innovation comes from.
Wow. Okay. I'm ready to embrace the squirm,
Okay.
but how do I actually do it?
How do you do it?
Yeah, do I need to put moldy fruit on my desk or something?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's about finding what works for you.
So how do I even start?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. So how do I even start?
Yeah, like a step-by-step guide to finding my rotten apple.
Well, you don't need a guide exactly.
Okay.
But it's more than just like making a list of everything that creeps you out.
Right, because it's not just about random gross stuff.
Exactly.
It feels deeper than that.
It is.
Like psychologically, why are we drawn to certain things?
Right. Why are we drawn to or like completely grossed out by other things?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
What's the answer?
One idea is that these rotten apples, these things that make us uncomfortable, they represent stuff we haven't dealt with yet.
Okay.
Like unresolved issues, beliefs we don't really believe anymore,
Yeah. Okay.
or stuff we're trying to ignore.
Like emotions we're not ready to face.
Right. It's like all the stuff we sweep under the rug because it's too hard to deal with.
Yeah, but they're still there.
They are lurking under the surface.
And that causes like a low-level anxiety.
Exactly, but that tension can actually be creative energy if we know how to use it.
So it's like facing those uncomfortable truths head on.
Yes.
And then seeing what comes out of that.
Exactly, and that's where Schiller's approach is so interesting.
Okay.
He deliberately made himself uncomfortable with that smell.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he was able to break out of his usual way of thinking.
Okay, so there was a method to his madness.
There was.
But how do we actually do this?
Yeah, how do we use this idea in our own lives?
Yeah, because again, I can't exactly be carrying a rotten apple around.
No, probably not.
It would get messy.
It would.
But the principle is what matters, right?
It is.
So how do I use it?
The challenge is to find ways to make yourself uncomfortable in your own work.
So like as a writer, I shouldn't just stick to the easy stuff.
Right.
Maybe I need to write about something that makes me a little uneasy.
Exactly. Maybe a topic that's hard to think about or an experience you've been avoiding.
And for a musician.
For a musician, it could be trying out a totally different style of music
Mm.
or using sounds that you usually hate.
Okay, and what about a painter?
A painter could use colors they never use
Yeah.
or paint a scene that makes them uncomfortable.
The key is to get out of that comfort zone.
Right?
That's it. You got it.
But how do I actually do that?
Okay, so we know we need to find our rotten apple.
Yeah.
And we know we need to figure out why it makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So what's next?
What do I actually do with that discomfort?
That's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
You take that discomfort, that raw energy,
Okay.
and you channel it into your work.
So not just replicating the discomfort itself,
No.
but using it to create something new.
Exactly.
Right.
You got it.
Okay.
It's like the rotten apple is the seed.
Mm-hmm.
What you grow from that seed is what really matters.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
It is, isn't it?
But this all sounds kind of scary.
Yeah.
Facing those things, I've been avoiding challenging my own beliefs.
It can be scary.
It can be.
It's important to remember that discomfort is normal,
Okay.
part of the process. So it's not a bad thing.
No, it actually might mean you're doing something right.
So I should embrace it
You should.
as a sign that I'm pushing myself to grow.
Exactly. And when you feel stuck, you can try shifting your focus.
Okay, what do you more?
So instead of getting lost in the discomfort, do something else.
Like what?
Something easy, something fun.
Okay.
Take a walk. Listen to music. Read a book.
Yeah.
Talk to someone who inspires you.
Sometimes you just need a break
Sometimes it's all you need
to get unstuck.
to let your mind work in the background.
So when I come back to my work, I have fresh ideas.
You got it.
But I want to go back to something you said earlier
Okay.
about honesty in creative work.
Right.
You said that was super important.
I did.
Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely.
How do I bring that honesty into my work?
Well, it starts with being honest with yourself.
Okay, so before I can be honest in my art, I need to be honest with myself
That's right.
about my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences,
It's about recognizing your own rotten apples. Okay.
and letting them influence your work.
And letting go of the need to be perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's where the real connection comes from.
It is, isn't it?
Those raw, vulnerable moments.
That's what resonates with people.
It's all starting to make sense now.
It is, isn't it?
The discomfort, the honesty, the vulnerability.
It's all part of the journey.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned.
Let's do it.
So first, we need to find our rotten apple.
Right, that thing that makes you squirm,
Then figure out why it makes us squirm.
and then
channel that discomfort into our work.
use it to create something honest, something real.
This is amazing stuff.
It is.
But how do we actually do this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What tools can we use?
What techniques?
How do we actually translate these concepts into action?
Let's talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Let's get practical.
Okay.
We've talked about the why, the what,
Mhm.
but now we need the how.
Yes, exactly.
How to actually use this stuff.
It's easy to talk about embracing discomfort,
And using it to be creative.
but how do we actually do it?
We need some actual strategies.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of ideas.
Right, like telling someone to climb a mountain without giving them any gear.
Exactly.
So let's give our listeners some tools.
Okay. What do you have for us?
One technique is journaling.
Journaling.
Good old-fashioned journaling.
I bet some people are rolling their eyes right now,
Yeah.
thinking it's too simple.
But that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
It's just about having a space to explore your thoughts and feelings.
A safe space.
Yes, a safe space.
To let those rotten apple thoughts out.
Exactly. And when you write them down, you start to see things you didn't notice before.
Like patterns and connection.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can try different creative exercises that target those areas where you feel uncomfortable.
So for writers, that could be like a writing prompt.
Yeah, a prompt that makes them think about something they usually avoid.
And for musicians,
Maybe trying to write a song using sounds they hate.
that sounds hard.
It can be challenging.
What about painters?
For painters, it could be using only dark colors
Okay.
or painting a scene that makes them anxious.
So the key is to push yourself.
Exactly. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone.
But what if I get stuck?
What do you mean?
Like, what if I try to do this and I just feel paralyzed?
That happens.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel uncomfortable.
It's part of the process.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong.
See, I shouldn't give up.
No, you should lean into it.
Yeah.
Embrace the discomfort.
As a sign that I'm growing.
That's it.
But what if I can't handle it?
You can always shift your focus.
What do you mean?
Do something else for a while.
Okay.
Take a break from your work.
Like what?
Go for a walk, listen to music, read a book.
So just clear my head
Exactly. Let your subconscious mind work on it.
and then come back to it later.
And you might have some new ideas.
I like that.
It's a good strategy.
But you said something earlier about honesty.
I did.
How do I be more honest in my work?
That's a big question.
It is.
But I think it starts with being honest with yourself.
Okay, so self-honesty is the foundation.
It is.
So before I can be honest in my art, I need to be honest with myself
Exactly.
about all the messy stuff.
About your rotten apples.
And then I can use those in my work
Yes.
and not try to hide them.
And not try to be perfect.
Because the imperfections are where the magic is.
That's where the real connection comes from.
So embracing my rotten apples will make me a better artist.
It can help you connect with people on a deeper level.
This has been so insightful.
It has been, hasn't it?
So to wrap things up,
Yes.
I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay, what's the challenge?
What is your rotten apple?
What's that thing that makes you squirm?
Don't be afraid of it.
Embrace it.
Explore it.
You might be surprised by what you find.
And that's our show for today.
Thanks for listening, everybody.